All right, you guys might remember these. This is a super bummer about going to markets. So for the most part, you can keep your pieces safe with pool noodles and blanket wraps and all the things. But there's an occasion where things just get damaged and they can't be repainted. A lot of pieces can be touched up. These ones cannot. This was a custom color that I mixed at the time. These were always relatively inexpensive, but they just haven't sold anyways. So I've never done this before, done a completely new paint job on a piece, because I feel like you should just mark it down and get rid of it, because the sale amount versus the amount of work going in to do an entirely different paint job is, it's too much. It's too much to do. So normally that's my advice, just lower the price and be done with it. You can repaint if you want. It's a fine choice, especially if you want to play around and practice and have something to do. But these ones, like I said, I can't sell them like this. I would never feel good about that. I like my pieces to be really as in good a condition as possible, and that just doesn't, and I'm not going to try and color match that. So here we are. We're going to give these a new thing, and we'll play around, because in doing the smalls, I have come up with a few different techniques, so I want to try them out on these. So that's really cool. Also, Annette, thank you so much for your order. I'm getting ready to go drop it at the post right now. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Seriously, every time one of you buys something off the website, I'm blown away. So thanks so much. I think that is really, really cool. All right, to start off, as we do, I'm just giving this a quick scuff sand and I'll clean it down. Now, these obviously weren't really dirty, and the scuff sand is basically just because it had the clear coat on top, so I'm just roughing up the surface a bit for things to adhere better. And then the first layer, I'm going in with mellow white, and I'm just adding texture, and this is going to be kind of an undercoat, only in certain areas, because I want this to have a ton of different variations in color. So we're not going to see the white at the end. All it's going to do is add texture, interest, and you'll be able to kind of notice a something, because I just want tons and tons of variations in the final finish. So that's where I'm going here. It's very random, and just loading it on my large brush and getting it everywhere. You can see I'm doing lots of stippling motions. The stippling motions will increase texture, whereas like swirling can be a little smoother. I want lots of texture for these first couple coats. Now you might see the patterns and things change a bit, because I'll switch back and forth between each nightstand. I'm not going to show you the full process on both nightstands. That would be terribly boring. So just if you're wondering why there's variances, that's why. So for this part, I actually let the white completely dry, and then I sprayed the entire top / whatever side section I was working on with water, and then I'm taking gray paint, swirling it on. Doesn't really matter. You can tell there's no perfection here. It's just getting it on there. And then I have a cloth that is also slightly damp, and I'm doing a ragging technique, and that's going to also give texture and give like that mottled look. So it's going to tone down the white and kind of get the blue so that it's not so contrasting between those two colors. And we're just going to start layering like this. So anywhere that I want to add more texture and darker areas, I will go back in with the brush, and then anywhere I want to kind of bring it back a little bit and soften out the look of things, I will use the rag. So it's just a back and forth process until you like what you're seeing. And by like what you're seeing, I mean know in your mind what it's going to look at in the end, because as you're doing this, it does not look great. Like, this is a prime example of it looks worse before it gets better situation. Trust the process, as we say. So I'm just going to carry on with this and go around the entirety of the piece. Next up, I have this super, super stunning. It's like a red with a touch of copper metallic paint. Oh man, it is lovely. It's like a pretty, if rust were pretty. It's not like that crazy orange color. It's just like the most lovely garnet. It's so good. So this color I'm using sparingly. I'm not getting too crazy with it because it is super vibrant and it blends out really easily. So as you can see, I'm doing kind of like darkers around the edges and things like that, and then I will use the cloth to blend out the edges into the rest of the piece. Again, using water where I need to. You do want to make sure that your lower layers of paint are very dry as you're going in with the additional colors. You can run the risk of lifting those colors when you're using a stiffer brush or when you're doing the ragging technique. So you want to let it sit overnight, or at least for the couple of hours, depending on how quickly you work. If you need a lot of water and you are struggling, then let it dry overnight. If you are pretty quick about it and have been doing it for a while, or you're just naturally good, then yeah, you can wait just a couple hours just to make sure it's dry enough. You just don't want to lift up those other layers because that defeats the whole purpose of doing 87,000 layers. Next up, we have this oh so lovely steel gray. It is semi-opaque, so you can kind of use it as a glaze, which I kind of did, but you just do whatever feels right to you. I'm still getting this everywhere. I'm using this color to kind of blend all of the other colors together. So it's going on really thick, and then we'll use the rag again, but just having the depth of this over the top of all of those colors, sandwiching everything kind of down, pushing it back, making it all look lived in. It's just a good thing. So there's no rhyme or reason. I'm just getting it on. You see swirling action. It doesn't matter how you get it on, just get it on, because the rag is going to do all the work for you. Now, you might notice as you're ragging that you'll see repetitive patterns. You need to make sure that you are switching up the direction you're going with your hand. You can like twist your wrist or kind of spin the rag around and also remanipulate the rag. Okay, now that that's dry, we're going in with, this is Flash Blue, and it is, man, like the most amazing thing ever. It looks white, and then when the light hits it in certain angles, it shifts, it has a blue shift to it. So again, I'm doing the exact same thing, and you will not see this at all. It will just look like a clear coat until certain light hits it in a certain way, and you'll get just this ethereal glow. Wow, like I just couldn't love anything more than this stuff right now. Just be prepared to see this in the future because, man, I'm loving it. I love anything that's subtle like that just brings a wow factor. So again, same process. Got it on there using the ragging technique to kind of create texture and highs and lows and all that good stuff. This is a very, very easy process. Literally anybody can do it. It's just taking the time to do all the layers. Which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's a pain in the butt to do this many layers. But I was just having fun at this point. Like, there was no rush, there was no anything. It was just like, let's just see what happens. Let's just put all this stuff on here and play around, because that's fun too. This step seems a little bit crazy, but at this point I knew that I wanted to lighten things up, so I went in with the Mellow White again, and I'm just going to do a wash. So this is a more opaque paint because the other ones are metallics. Metallics are almost never fully opaque. So this is going to, again, do another toning job. That's all that I'm doing here, and it's just adding another layer of interest. You can skip this step if you want. You can skip any of these steps. If you'd like to do 3 colors, great, do 3 colors. If you'd like to do 84 colors, cool, do 84 colors. However many you want. Just make sure that it's not wasted on the piece. So you'll see this, all it does is kind of lighten things up. You can still even see the flash blue coming through. So it's not covering anything, it's just toning things back and lightening up the entire thing. But don't worry, it's gonna get dark again. All right, so at this point, I am just going back in with the steel gray, and I'm going to actually use a roller this time. The reason I'm using a roller is because it will smooth out the finish a bit instead of having all the ragging technique, which after all of this, it starts to get a bit overwhelming for my brain to look at with all these highs and lows and all the different. So the roller kind of helps smooth things out so you can still see it all. Again, this is a like a semi-opaque paint, so you can still see through it. It will just kind of mellow it out a bit. Same with the roller. So that's why I chose to do this. If you want to do the rag still, you could totally do the rag still. If you wanted to use a foam brush, you could do that. I don't like using regular brushes with metallic paints because you can really see the brush strokes in them. But that's a personal preference, so do whatever you want. Now, so it wasn't just the same everywhere. I wanted to warm up this piece, and I'm just doing that in some stripes. So I use the same roller, I just cleaned it off, put in this. This is kind of like a gold pewter kind of mixed color. I love it so much. It's what I did over the cabinets in the guest house. It is delightful. So you can see still kind of semi-opaque. You can see through it, but when the light hits it, it looks just amazing. And I really like the contrast between the warm and the cool, so that's why I did this. I'm kind of sad you can see the front of the drawers now. I kind of wanted the whole thing to be a surprise at the end, but it's fine. They're still not completely finished. But there's just nothing as satisfying as removing stripes. So right here, I'm just taking a small detail brush to add in the back end part of the stripes because I didn't want to put the roller too close to the back, if you're wondering what I was doing there. It's just so that I could roll on, get a really smooth stripe, but then the very back, I didn't want to bump the back of the wall, so I held off a little and then cleaned it up with a detail brush. And then I just reused all of this tape because this is masking tape, which is not the best tape for this because sometimes it can pull up your paint. Just if anyone is wondering, blue tape is probably your best friend. But I have a whole bunch of masking tape that was given to me, so I'm using it, and I wasn't fearful of any of this paint coming up. And just to bring out the appliques that we had put on earlier, you know, first makeover, I'm adding the same kind of golden tone to those with a detail brush. I lay the brush on its side so it's very flat, so it's not getting down low, it's just hitting the high points. Now we're closing in on the finish line. So this is another step to kind of mush everything together to look more cohesive. I'm just taking an old sheet of 220 sandpaper and I'm going over the entire thing. And then getting out little brush hairs that I find in there. But yeah, so this is just smoothing everything out, getting it ready for top coat, and also making it look a little more lived in. So especially those stripes too, that will help really kind of push the stripes back so they don't just look super fresh. And last but certainly not least, we're doing the top coat. I did 2 coats on the overall piece and then 3 coats on top. This is a super strong top coat, so I didn't add wax to this one. I might add wax later. You guys know I just like to add wax as a finishing touch. I feel like it's the best way to protect everything, but I am testing out this top coat right now, so we shall see. It seems really, really strong. Oh hi, Taryn here with Elegant Upgrades, and we've got our finished nightstands again. So these turned out super, super cute. I love them so much more now. I liked the original finish that I had chosen. It was more of a simple style, and it was fine. It's not my typical kind of one color thing, but since I custom colored that initially because I was trying to get that exact blue, when they were damaged and moving transit of all the places, yeah, I wasn't gonna remix that color. So, and since I wasn't super pleased, they hadn't sold, figured this was the way to go. So I zhuzhed them up. They're a little grungy glam, which is one of my favorite styles. I just love it. Yeah, now I would actually use these myself. I wouldn't have used the other ones, which I think is interesting. I love the back. I left the back how it was. I added a little bit of the flash blue to it, but that's it. And then the whole things are just good to go. I love them so much more now. I'm very excited. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.